You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, it's been quite the week. I mean, it's been a lot going on, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a lot better compared to earlier this week. I think there was like a lot of weather changes, and I feel like when it gets really cold, there's like that seasonal, shift. And I was a little under the weather at the beginning of the week, and I was like, I was a little worried. I was like, is it COVID? What is it? Of course, it has not been COVID. Knocking on my wooden table. It was just simply, you need to start wearing layers, Ernest. That's really what it was. It was the weather telling me, bitch, it's cold and it's not going back. Okay, so you thought you was cute. You thought you could put on some Crocs without any socks, and the weather was just like, no. You need to get a little bit more serious about this. So that's what it was. And I got a chance to really just take some time and like rest, get my mind together, and also prepare, because this week I recorded my book. I started recording my audiobook this week. This by the time we do the next episode, which will be after Thanksgiving, the book will be done. Okay? That's where we're at. Like, I started recording last Friday, first day. I did voice tea. I was in the studio. I was relaxed. I was in my zen. And what was supposed to happen was I was supposed to do like 2 chapters per day, I think, or whatnot. But I was doing so well. I got through a third of the book, y'all, in the first day, in the first session. They were really impressed. I was working with a great, audio recording director, at Macmillan, and, we just went through the flow, and it was just a really good vibe. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. And I think that, maybe the reason why it wasn't such a difficult task is because I wrote my book and I'm reading what I wrote. And so a lot of the, training that other, audio talent that are recording artists who are reading other people's books, they have to really read that person's book, and they actually have to like kind of understand the points of inflection and all of those different things. For me, I didn't have to do that because, for so many of you all tell me this all the time, that I sound how you read it in my voice anyway. And there's a certain way that I emphasize words, how I, say things with a sense of humor, a little bit of shade, and you can pick up on that. And because I've done this podcast for nearly 2 years, I've gotten used to a certain flow and vibe with my voice and how I sound and how I talk about things that really no one else could have done this book any justice in audiobook recording style. Like, I have accepted and have embraced that I am a voice talent, that there is another aspect to my talent in media that isn't just writing, isn't just visual, but there's also this audio quality. And when you're trying to be, the Meryl Streep of your media generation, you got to have range. You got to be able to do it all. So I'm very happy that I'm reading the book. It's opening me up to so many memories throughout each chapter. And it's just going by real smooth, man. It's going by real smooth. So I'm really happy. I'm really excited. I cannot wait for you all to read it. FYI, it's its own audiobook. It's its own experience. So if you bought the original copy, like if you bought the hardback copy, which you'll be getting on February 21st, that does not automatically come in an audiobook. You have to buy the audiobook separately. So make sure that you pre-order the audiobook as well, because that also comes out immediately on February 21st. So both come out. Now, I've heard from some readers, like big book fans, that sometimes when they order a book, the book, depending on the pre-order situation, the book doesn't come out immediately, they don't necessarily immediately get the day of. Some people do, depending on if you get Amazon, whoever your bookseller is, you might get the book, the day after or whatnot, which makes sense. However, someone told me that they really want to get into it, so they'll order the audiobook immediately and start listening the day of while they're driving, while they're doing whatever, and then they wait for the hard book to come, and then normally they get the hardback, not the hard book, but the hardback, and they get the person to autograph it, and whatnot. So whatever works for you all, whatever works, for you all, whatever rocks your boat. I'm going to do it all. I can't sign audiobooks clearly, but I can sign hardback copies. And what I will also add too is that the audiobook will come with bonus material, in some shape or form. It's a little bit more for the experience beyond just simply the book. So just some food for thought for people who are like, should I do both? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. We do both over here. So, just wanted to put that out there. I would say it's a shameless plug, but really it's not a shameless. Well, is it shameless? It is shameless. Yeah, it's my podcast. Yeah, it's a shameless plug. Well, I don't have any shame regardless. It's just a plug. How about that? But yeah, it's been quite the experience thus far. But I have to say that I've grown to have a big, profound love for our voice talents. Now listen, it has been a good journey doing audiobook recording, but I must tell you that directors who really do it, they really get you on words. Like, I had to really emphasize the word cancel, because I was saying like console. Now I'm like emphasizing, they like really get you on pronunciation of certain things. Like, it's really big. Like, so when you're like talking for a period of time, you can run words together, or you can count. My cancel would sound like city council, it was just running. And so in my ear, they kept saying cancel, like cancel. And I had to emphasize the cancel, like Ansel. Oh my goodness, that was a lot. But all I have to say is that it was, at sometimes you just like, oh my goodness, I was doing so good and I have to go back and say it this particular way. So it do go, but once it flows, it flows. So it's interesting. It's an interesting experience. I have 3 more sessions left. Each session is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's like 6 hours, but I have a break for lunch and things like that. But we're in there cranking it. Okay. We're in the studio making it happen. So it's exciting. It's super exciting. As far as everything else has been going, before we get into the, things, I've been going out to some really great restaurants this week. I got to have a really cool dinner with my good friend, Chris. We went to Fiora Fine Foods, and you all probably saw those Instagram pictures. Oh my goodness. What a restaurant. It was so chill. It was so nice. Fiora is spelled, for those who are curious, Fiore. It's Italian, but it's also like a New American vibe, which, that's my thing if it's done well. And it was divine. I mean, they had this tasting menu that was incredible. Great cocktails, really, really good pasta. I mean, we had different servings. We tried all types of different things. The steak was really, really good. And I had it medium rare, which I know a lot of you are like, medium rare. But let me tell you, I've always made the joke that, well, Chris is into medium rare steak, but I always make the joke that I will eat medium rare at a good restaurant. And that was a good restaurant, and that steak was done well. But I'm typically a medium. But I'm in that middle range. I don't do medium well anymore. I'm past medium well. I've graduated, y'all. I haven't had medium well in maybe 3 years. I don't do medium well anymore at all. I am now in medium, and confidently at medium. Medium rare on rare occasions. On medium rare occasions. And we're never doing rare. We're just like, I'm not Hannibal Lecter. We're not doing rare. But medium rare on some special occasions, if at a really good restaurant, if the chef recommends it, and if the vibe is right? Because you can know, Black people specifically, we don't really do the medium rare unless it's, I'm all, it's a different type of situation. But Medium is my sweet spot. Well done is well none. We're not doing well done. I've went out with a couple of people I know who, said they like steak, and I was like, well, how do you do your steak? And they said I do it well done. I said, well, myself, you're not going to embarrass me at this table. How about you go ahead and get that duck? How about you go get some chicken? Because what we're not going to do is be at the table and look at. Listen, if you get in a steak well done and you're a grown ass adult, I don't know what to tell you. You don't like steak. You don't like steak. You don't like steak. What you like is the appearance of steak on a plate so you can feel like you're grown. It's more of an aesthetic for you. But it's not the real deal. Just letting it be clear. You're not serious. You're not serious about steak. You're not a real steak eater if you're eating it well done. I mean, think about all those beautiful pieces of meat that you're letting just get completely burned to the brim, to the steak. No pun intended. Imagine that. Just think about what you're doing in those type of situations, like how that is impacting everything all at once. So no, you're not serious about steak, in my opinion. Controversial opinion, whatever. We'll be having some more controversial opinions, especially around charcuterie boards, very, very soon, because I have some thoughts about that, and clearly you all agree with me, but we'll get to that later in the podcast. As far as other restaurants, the Lip Brothers and I went to Assembly, which was incredible. I like Assembly Rooftop. They're connected to the Logan. They have Urban Farmer downstairs, that popular restaurant. Who also, they have apparently great steaks there, but they have a really good pork chop that I love. They have a really good pork chop there. I've had their steak. Their steak is good too. It's not bad. Honestly, it's one of the more reasonable steaks in the city, to be honest. But I really like their bone-in pork chop. To me, I feel like that bone-in pork chop is one of the best pork chops in the city. Speaking of which, well, before we get into pork chops, Assembly Rooftop has this winter situation going on up there, winter rooftop vibe, ice sculptures, hot toddy cocktails and drinks, rosemary themes. It's popping up there. You all probably saw my IG story earlier this week. It was popping up there. When I tell you it was cold outside, but they had the outdoor heat lamps, and they had the fireplaces in place, the little fire areas. Man, it was dope. It was a really good time. And I never thought I would do a rooftop in the cold, but the way they have it popping over there, it is a must go to. Highly recommended. 10/10. And the boys really got warm with those cocktails. We all had a great time. George, Josh, Jamarcus, we had a great time. And it was great. It was great drinks across the board there. I went to Rex at the Royal. Abel came to town, Abel and his girlfriend. So Mr. Johnson and I, we all did like a couple's dinner. One of the few straight couples we'll do a couple's dinner with. I'm not really keen on doing dinner dates with straights, but when you're like family, it's very different. We went to Rex at the Royal. Great conversation, great wine, great cocktails. It's so great at Rex at the Royal. It feels like a second home. Like when I go there, I always get the same server, and they always know I want the Portillo, like right out the door. I'm getting the Portillo. It's like when I used to go to Del Frisco's back in the day, and I used to get the VIP all the time. The Portillo is like one of my favorite cocktails of all time. It is like this carrot ginger mezcal, concoction, and it's phenomenal. It's truly great. It's a great drink, and the food was great. So my pork chop, which was my favorite pork chop in Philadelphia, is no longer being served at Rex at the Royal. They now serve a pork shank, which is really, really good. And they served it with sweet potatoes and this really good seasoned cabbage, and it was divine. They also had a stuffed trout that Mr. Johnson had, and it had this really good seasoned rice, and it was a stuffed trout, and it was very good as well. We had the dozen of oysters, which their oyster situation is popping. Highly recommended. And then I think Abel's girlfriend had the pork shank as I did, and then he had the brisket, which is another popular thing on their menu, which is going very barbecue with the red beans. Very good as well. It was great. The pork shank was divine. Pork at Rex at the Royal is great. If you're a pork eater, which I know is almost like extinct in Philly, because a lot of people in Philly don't eat pork, which for various reasons, but I love me some pork. I'm from Texas, okay? I grew up in Houston. I have family in Arkansas. Okay, we used to grow up. I used to spend the summers, of course, in Marianna, Arkansas. And then, for a little bit of time, I lived in Huntsville, Alabama. I don't know if you all knew this, but um, when my family was transferring for jobs, mom, was moving up in her company and she was changing different positions. She was relocating. We at one point lived in Huntsville. We lived in Maumelle, Arkansas, which is like near Little Rock. For all of my people who know the South really well, we lived in Houston for many years. And then after I graduated from high school, I went to Philly, of course, to go to Penn. And then during that time, my parents relocated. So they lived in Maumelle, Arkansas for a little bit, which is right next to Little Rock, which is the state's capital, which is a couple of miles away from where my grandmother and I used to spend my summers, which is in Marianna, Arkansas, which is a very interesting time in my life. And then she relocated to go to Huntsville, Alabama, which I know you all watched that Love and Marriage Huntsville show, which let me just say is not the most accurate depiction of Huntsville, but it was hilarious because one of my homegirls from Penn, her name is Tias, she's from Huntsville, and I had a good little time in Huntsville. Very country, but I was a little bit older once then, but my brothers went to school in Huntsville, which is very interesting. And now, since my family has relocated back to Houston, well, actually in Katy, Texas, which is, for those who know the difference between Katy and Houston, Cinco Ranch, baby, okay? They live there now, and so, we're back in Texas. So I'll be spending Christmas with them, spend the holidays with my mother-in-law, and of course, we're going to be in Trenton, and it's going to be exciting because it's the first time since the pandemic that we've done Thanksgiving, of course, with my husband's family. It has been Friendsgivings because of the pandemic and COVID, and we didn't want to come in and out, all that kind of stuff. But this time, this is the first time we'll be back. We're getting it catered this year. I'm at that point where, y'all, I don't feel like cooking for Thanksgiving, to be honest. I'm just not in the cooking mode anymore. Look, Miss Dawn, and y'all know details about Miss Dawn, is my girl. Miss Dawn is catering. We're doing the whole spread. She can cook. It will be cooked with black hands. That I know for sure. My Thanksgivings will always be done by black hands. Will it be done by mine? Not as much anymore. Now, Christmas, I'm going down south, so, my mom and my folks are going to definitely be cooking because they refuse. They're not about that catering life. They're like, what are you doing? You need to, But it's true because I'm going to be at their house. And even though I like my new place and I love it down, it's just something about when you go to your parents' house for the holidays where it just seems like the way that their kitchen is set up, it will always be superior. Like, I love my new kitchen. I love my island. I got a nice little situation. It does wonders for cooking these Sunday dinners we're cooking. But as far as holiday type of situations, I'm not even going to play myself. I'm not even going to try to play myself like I'm going to be in the kitchen doing all that. Okay, Mr. Johnson is baking some cakes because, his mother loves a good old pound cake, a good old, the pound cake that's round, not the flat one, but a good old pound cake and a pie. And we're going to do that, but that's all we're bringing to the table. And the rest will be catered. We're bringing it catered from Miss Dawn. We're going to have it ready to heat up, and it's going to be a good old time. And what I love about getting catered from Miss Dawn for Thanksgiving is that we get the food the night before, and then we heat it up the next day. And for those who know, as you all know, what the saying goes about Thanksgiving food, it is always better the day after because the greens done soaked, the meat done seasoned and soaked in. You got the beans and the dressing, the seasoning soaked a little bit more. Now, people know this who are real, let me be clear, real cooks, okay? My real cooks know this fact. And let me just say this to people right now who do plan to cook. If you're listening to this podcast at this very moment, which is a Monday, maybe you're going to hear it on a Tuesday or the Wednesday, but let's just say that you're one of my devout listeners, that core 200. I call it the core 200. The moment this podcast drops, within the first, I want to say 6 hours, 200 of you all, like instantly start listening to it. Like that's how devout you are. If you in that core 200, shout yourself out on Twitter, Instagram, or something. Let me know if you're in that core 200, because it's roughly around 200, unless it's a messy episode and then it goes higher in that first 6 hours. But then after that, the episode, the listeners build in and people come in and we do well. But like that first 200 within I want to say the first 6 hours is always like this big mass of 200 that download and listen. If you're in that core 200, you're listening right now, whether you're on the way to work, it's in the morning, you're getting ready to do what you got to do. If your turkey is not being ready to be thawed out, we gonna need to get that together. I need the turkey to be out the fridge right now. The turkey needs to be out the fridge. Period. The turkey needs to be out the fridge right now. I mean, out the freezer. It needs to be defrosting. It needs to be happening like right now. It should have probably been happening yesterday maybe. But like, let's just say defrostation needs to be happening right now if you're serious about cooking your turkey. Let's just keep it on a beam. Defrosting needs to be happening right now. Yeah. And what I will also say, okay, is that if you are a person who like canned cranberry sauce, I am one of those people. I like canned cranberry sauce. Homemade is cute and all that, but I love the way canned cranberry sauce, the consistency on some good dressing. And I do dressing. I don't do stuffing. Whatever y'all do in the Northeast, y'all can have at it. But I'm from the South. We do dressing. I want a nice slither of cranberry sauce canned on my dressing. And let me be clear. For those who don't read the can, don't come up in here with that mixed, chunky crap, that shit that Ocean Spray has where they put the pieces in there. I need the original classic cranberry. Don't remix the cranberry sauce, okay? Just get the original classic one and keep it in the refrigerator chilled, all right? This is important because let me tell you why I say this. Right now, I feel like there's been a shortage. This weekend, we have to go through and find cans of cranberry sauce. I saw some people at some stores doing some wild things, okay? If you don't know by now, if you find some cranberry sauce, get you some cranberry sauce for Thanksgiving and Christmas, because I have a funny feeling that there is going to be a cranberry sauce shortage by Christmas. I'm just letting you know right now. I have this third eye that's telling me that it's going to be some problems come Christmas. So go ahead and get those extra cans now while you got the money, because you don't want to have these problems otherwise. But grateful for Thanksgiving. Super excited to be catching up with family. It's great to be the son-in-law for Thanksgiving. You get to just, be cute and just see everybody and all that. It's always a good time. But yeah, I just had to get that off my chest because it's been a lot to say. Now, in other news, because I want to put this there before we get into these hot topics and everything that's going on with the news, I got a new phone, y'all. And no, I did not get an iPhone because I'm not iPhone. I'm a team Android. Never fold. I will never fold. I have a new Android. Now, for people who are close to me, you all know that I'm the type, with me and devices, I'm one of those people that keep up with my shoes. I keep my shoes up. And I keep my devices up. You're never going to see me with a cracked cell phone. You're never going to see me with a broken laptop. You're just never going to see me. Like, I'm really big on maintenance. I'm the dude who has insurance on all my shit. I always clean my shit down. I always charge my shit up. Like, I'm always going to have my stuff together. And I think the reason why is because as a journalist, I have to use these tools on a regular daily basis to make money. And so if you are in a position where this is how you make your livelihood, you treat these things as instruments, right? Like when I think of doctors, when they have their scalpels and all the little stuff they have to have, right? They treat that stuff like, it's top tier. Like a dentist tray is no joke. I have a friend who was in dentistry. Listen, you can't play with dentists. I'm sorry. You can't play with people who's in that profession. You can't play with doctors. You can't play with people who is into that work because every tool matters. And so as a journalist, my tools matter. My iPad, okay, my laptop, my MacBook, my iPad. And before y'all talk shit about, well, you got Apple products like a laptop and pad, why you don't got the phone? We're going to get to that in a minute. I got to have my Android. And so I've had the same Android phone for maybe about 5 years, y'all. The same exact model. And mind you, there were times where the phone had died on itself, so I had to replace it, but I would keep the same model. I would never upgrade. For whatever reasons, maybe that's like my, Mark Zuckerberg thing. Like, how Mark Zuckerberg wears the same shirts and like he doesn't want to think about what he has to wear. Now, I wear what I wear. I think about what I wear. I don't play them games. But I think that, like, I guess behind my genius is like I'm very big on keeping the same instruments and tools as long as I can. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, I've kept the same cell phone model for about 5 years, y'all. Yeah, I don't think I changed from my phone and went through half of Biden's term, the entire Trump administration. Like, I done went through it. Like, and I never complained about it. Like, I really loved my phone. My previous phone, I forget what it was, like some type of Motorola touch phone or whatever. But it was really simple. And then that was crazy because the previous phone I had, which I got the new phone in 2017. Well, I have a new phone now, but we'll get to what this new phone is. But the previous phone before that, that phone I had since 2012, maybe. I had that for about 5 years. And that was this, I don't think they even make that phone anymore. It's like it was a Motorola phone, like a Samsung, and you slide it, and it was almost like a BlackBerry vibe, but then it had a touchscreen element. You could close it. So you could slide the keyboard out and you could close the keyboard, because I was completely scared to use touchscreen. Like, I was very much so like, what you fuck you mean touchscreen, everything touchscreen? It was like a foreign concept to me. I did not want to do fully touchscreen because I was always scared that, if that screen wasn't acting right, then I was doomed. I didn't trust touchscreen enough. So this was like my favorite phone because I still had the type in keyboard I could slide open. And then I also had the ability to use touch for some conveniences. That was my shit, y'all. I loved that phone. I had no issues with it. I really loved, the ability to slide that. But they took that out the way. They discontinued it. So I was forced to upgrade. So then I had the next phone, which was a touch phone that I just got rid of. And now I have this new phone. Now, this is the Motorola Edge Plus 5G UW. I think that's the best way to describe it. That's it. That's the phone. And it's beautiful, y'all. I love it. Like, I feel so high tech. Now I know how Dolly Parton felt when she was not trying to get rid of her BlackBerry. Like, listen, I feel so high tech. This is a cute phone. It's a really good phone. It's a very, 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 very brand new phone, I hear. And it's cute. It's doing what it needs to do. I do like it. It's very customary. I'm enjoying it thus far. I must say the one thing, so let me tell you why I got rid of the other phone. It was not because I wanted to get rid of it. It's because it just was not acting right anymore. So the last phone I got, it just started dropping calls. Like, calls would drop. I had to charge it, nosebleed a lot. Like, I had to charge it a lot. Like, for example, I'm looking at this phone right now. I haven't put it on the charger since, when last time I put it on charger? I haven't put it on charger since last night before I went to dinner at 8 o'clock. This phone has been on with no charge at all, and it is currently at 40%. And I haven't had it on the charger since 8 p.m. yesterday, fully charged, at 8 p.m. last night, the day before. Now I want to say it's been over, because you're trying to figure out what time it is now. So it would be around, this is the evening on Sunday, and it's at 40%. And I have made phone calls. I have listened to music. Yeah. So it's a good quality phone. I must say the charge on that situation is dope. It charges up fast. No drop calls. The Wi-Fi signal is popping. I love to see the 5G. I don't even understand what the other G is. I understand 4G, but I don't even understand what the other G is. But the Wi-Fi connection, the hotspot, it's really, really good. And that damn camera is great. And listen, I'm here to tell you all that my besties, okay, so Jamarcus, Josh, I believe, maybe George, but Josh and I think all three of the Lit brothers, I think they all have the iPhone 4. I know at least, I think two of them at least have it. I know Jamarcus has it for sure because he took pictures at my birthday party. So They all kind of got the iPhone 4. Most of them do, I believe, in the group. I'm the only one who's team Android in the group. That I know for sure. Everybody else got, because they keep talking about my inbox box. I think it comes up green or some shit. Listen, I don't know. I don't care. I can't see any of that. So whatever you see on your end, it is what it is. Do you get the message? Did you get the message? Could you read it? Good. Don't matter what color it is. Don't all boxes matter? That's what y'all said, right? So whether it's green or blue, all boxes matter. All messages matter. All message colors matter. Yeah, I said it. There you have it. So, so I love the new phone. I will say that outside of the iPhone 14 camera, my Motorola Edge Plus, because let me be clear, not all Motorola Edges are the same. The Motorola Edge Plus phone is what I have. That camera is nothing to play with. If you've been looking lately at my new food photos I've been putting up, it is with that phone. That shit is sharp as hell. I rock with it. I love it. Okay. It is a great camera. It is an incredible camera. It's really good with, I love it. And the whole, what's that? Screenshotting capabilities. Cause you know, I love to keep receipts. I love that you can screenshot and crop and do these little things with the screenshot. Anyway, it's a great phone. Love my new phone. Very happy with it. And also I would say shout out to Verizon, because I got the phone not because someone sold me on it. It was that I found out that I had to upgrade so bad that they gave me this phone for free. That's how much my upgrade situation was, that they gave me this for free. That's how serious they were about me getting my ass a new phone. That I was able to qualify to get this brand new ass phone for free. So yeah, this was great. Okay, this was great. Shout out to waiting. Okay, now some of y'all might say you could have probably got a new iPhone with that. Listen, I don't want an iPhone. And let me tell you why I don't want an iPhone. So my mother, before she worked at Verizon Wireless for 17 years. She is a cell phone queen. She can tell you anything about cell phones. I grew up on cell phones. I've had a cell phone since I was like 14. I've had the same cell phone number since I was 14. So I've had the same cell phone number for about 17 years of my life. I think I got this I got a cell phone for my 14th Christmas. I was 14 years old, and I think right before I started, like right when I was in high school, and I got a brand new cell phone for Christmas. Like, I never had a cell phone before. It was a flip phone. It was a cute little black flip phone. Ooh, I used to get in trouble with that phone, but that's another story for another day. But that phone was my first cell phone, and like, I never got an iPhone. Like, my mom was like, I think she has an iPhone now. I can't remember. I think she got multiple cell phones. But like, when she worked at Verizon, she worked there for 17 years. She was at Primeco, and then she worked for Verizon. We grew up on cell phones. All the Verizon phones, all the MG, all the Motorola, the chocolate phone, the Juke phone. I just grew up on cell phones. And I just remember her just being like, she knew so much about them that she was like, iPhones are overrated, overpriced. And she used to be one of the ones who tell me, like, when we was younger. Now, I know iPhones have improved, but she would say like things like, the number one customer service problems that they would have was with iPhones. Like, people, the way they made the glass screens back in the day with those phones, they would crack on purpose. She used to make a joke and say, find me a person who doesn't have a cracked iPhone screen, and that person just got that phone. That was a joke. Because literally every time I had a friend who had an iPhone, it would always have a crack on the edge. Like, they made those phones to break. They made those phones to be fucked up. They wanted to force you to get, first care insurance on it. And most young people and people who got those phones never did, because they spent so much money trying to get the damn phone that they never considered the insurance aspect. I mean, it was just bad. It was terrible. And now they have changed their screen capabilities. And it's so funny because they used to be very critical about changing the size and making it bigger. And now their phones is as big as everybody else's phones. Okay. They used to talk all that shit about, size and all this crap. The phone has completely, they could not adjust their phones enough. They've had to go bigger. And also, I don't know. I think it's more of a status thing. It's like Starbucks coffee. It's a Starbucks coffee of phones. Like, Is Starbucks coffee the best? I don't think so. I don't drink coffee, so you know, like I don't have an iPhone. I don't drink coffee, so therefore I don't qualify to have a conversation. But I'm gonna act like a white person trying to get in a conversation that's none of my business. Um, I will say, if I might add, that although I don't have those experiences, my opinion, my opinion is that I don't think Starbucks coffee is the best coffee. But I feel like because of the status and the culturalness of it, I would assume in my mind, based on smell, I think La Colombe is better than Starbucks based on smell. But I know La Colombe is not all over the country, so some of y'all who are not in Philadelphia may have to drink other things. But I don't think their coffee's that great. I think their coffees might be fine. I just think that it's a cultural thing. Like people are so used to the logo and the brand and what it's supposed to mean that they are jumping on it, you know. Okay, before I'm a little bit getting a little bit sidebar, but I always like to throw a little shade. So Amanda, okay, because she's gonna take this and she's gonna listen. So when we were younger, a little younger, I mean, yeah, we were younger, not 20s, early 20s. Chipotle, this girl was obsessed with Chipotle, and I was telling a friend the other day that I remember when we were at that age, in our early 20s, Chipotle was a thing. Like a thing. Like it was like a moment. Like if you got Chipotle, that was something, okay? Because clearly Taco Bell was not in the conversation. I'm going to be quiet about that. But what I will say is that Chipotle was like a thing. That was a moment. And it meant something. You know, it was quality. You felt like, oh, you get some Chipotle, you know, that's a real, you trying to really get your eat on. And it was a real experience. Nowadays, child, Chipotle just feels so draped out and dripped out. You know, it just doesn't feel like anything special. Like they just blew that out of proportion. And honestly, I remember when Chipotle had the old font. Now I'm gonna take it back. Do y'all remember? Listen, if they don't remember Chipotle with the old font, he's too young for you. She's too young for you. Who remembers Chipotle when it was not Chipotle Mexican Grill? When it was just Chipotle, and we used to call it Chipato because we never heard of it before. I remember the old Chipotle when it used to be like with the words like it was just one word, Chipotle. It wasn't Mexican Grill, wasn't like the little hot pepper on the side. Whatever that Chipotle was, that shit was fire. That to me was the best Chipotle ever. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember the burritos used to be super, super big. I remember the chips. I remember the guac used to be not as crazy with the price. I just remember that was a different experience. I mean, they used to sell the fizzy drinks, and it used to feel like you was at a little It felt like a mini restaurant. Like it felt like a restaurant vibe. Like the whole place was a little dim. You know, it was very soft and subtle. It was not looking like this fast, mass-produced place that it is now. Like Chipotle lost its mojo. It was a different vibe back in the day. That was like over 10 years ago, by the way. So some of y'all may not remember that. But for those who remember that, listen, that was a different Chipotle. I swear it tastes different. I don't know what they've done with the food, but something changed. I don't know what changed about it, but those burritos used to be something different. I just remember everything about it just felt like it was on some upscale. And I remember they was only putting those Chipotles, or Chipatos as we used to call it back then. They used to only put those like the nicest like suburban areas. It wasn't like somewhere that was like just, you know, pop around in the mall or something. Like it was always in these small little, like it would never have been in a Liberty Place back in the day. So for whatever it's worth, I'm just going to put that there. I'm not going to shake the boat. I'm not going to get messy and say that Qdoba is better, tastes better than Chipotle do today. Like if you ask me where to go, I would say Moe's, then I would say Qdoba, and then I would say Chipotle. And if I was in Houston, Taco Cabana, end of discussion. But, you know, because Taco Cabana lets you get margaritas drive-through. Look, I know Texas is a mess, but listen, that was the shit. So outside of that, you all probably saw how I turned up this. It was my week this Sunday to cook dinner, and I went Greek, and I went under the sea. I made a huge whole salmon with this delicious avocado, cucumber, tomato salad, and I made this, I made my delicious creamy, cheesy kale orzo pasta. And of course, pita on the side. And it was a Parmesan kale orzo. And it was delicious. It was delicious. That's what food is supposed to taste like. That's how food is supposed to make you feel, y'all. That right there, that was everything. It was perfection. Oh, my younger brother, he was here. Of course, Mr. Johnson, and we just we devoured it. Oh my God, it was perfection. It was perfect Sunday supper. Now, next week, Mr. Johnson will be doing his thing. We've been doing this. We've been keeping this going ever since we moved into the new place. We've been keeping this Sunday supper thing going, and it's phenomenal. I'm really feeling good about it. Like, I love the food. It's changing. It's life changing. I encourage people, try out your cooking skills. Now, let me just say this. I marinated my salmon for 6 hours. I'm going to say this, and I know this might be unconventional, and I'm supposed to get to these hot topics, but for some reason, I'm just blabbling, but in a good way, because you all like it. You all enjoy this part of the podcast. Marinate your food. I just felt like I need to say that. I know it's the holidays, and I just want to just put that reminder out there. Marinate, and take time to marinate, and make a good marinade for your meats. Like, I just feel that I've been going places, not to restaurants, good restaurants, but I've been, seeing people do like these little potlucks and things. I'm looking at these pictures. I'm like, I know that we say we need to season our food because seasoning is important, but can we also bring back marinating? Like, marinating if you can. Marinating makes the biggest difference. If you got some cheap chicken or some pork chops that you just bought off bought real quick, do you know that just marinating that for a couple of hours or an hour or a couple of 30 minutes or something will like transform that and change the entire vibe of that meat and make it taste so much better? I've been big on that lately. Like, brine your pork chops, marinate your chicken, marinate your salmon if you can. And you know what? Buy your own marinades. Don't go to the store and buy the pre-made. No. Buy you the essence. So if you want to look online and check out some stuff, the best thing I'll tell people is that you should always have lots of soy sauce, have some honey in your house, always keep some vinegar, all types of vinegar, rice vinegar, white vinegar, balsamic vinegar. Keep some vinegars always in the house. Keep some garlic in the house, fresh garlic in the house. Keep some thyme and some parsley in the house, because you're gonna. It's never a bad time to have those things, because and of course keep your salts and your peppers. And we're talking various salts, right? We need some garlic salt, some coarse salt, some seasoned salt, different peppers, fresh cracked pepper. Keep some peppercorns. Keep some seasonings in your house. And I have a friend who had an ex-friend, still they spices out their house. They know who I'm talking about. And they laughing right now. This little spice bandit, okay, who was out here stealing spices. But that's another story for another day. Spices are rare. Keep you some spices. Keep you some stuff in the house so that anytime you want to make some marinades, you can. Have some Dijon mustard, some really good Grey Poupon. And keep some in the fridge. But just because those are always, every marinade I see nowadays is always going to have, an olive oil. Yes, olive oil. You need to have various oils, canola oil. Have some various oils in the house. Listen, even if you're not cooking something that day with those ingredients, you're going to always need it for something. You never know when you're going to need to have some sesame seed oil or some soy sauce or whatever, because most marinades call for these ingredients in some variation or form. So just have some to just be able to make a quick marinade and put your meat in there. Keep some Ziploc bags, y'all. Not just for snacks and sandwiches. Most of the time I use my Ziploc bags, honestly, to marinate my meat and preserve meats and preserve different things. But really it's for marination because it allows for less cleanup. But enough of Chef Boire, okay? To these hot topics and things that are going on. So I want to start this off by saying that we knew this day was going to come. It has finally come. And here we are. Donald J. Trump is running for U.S. president again. No shocker there. But I must say that I did have to, for research purposes, unfortunately, have to hear that dumb, annoying ass speech in Mariago. And I must say that I have some ideas and some thoughts about him and that speech that he did, where he announced he was running. So he's running. He's running for president. He's running. He wants it. And in modern history, it has been really rare for a U.S. president in this era to lose an election and then come back and run again and win. It's just not a likely thing to happen. And I think for Trump, it's not going to happen. But Trump is on Mission Impossible. And a lot of this is due to various things. I think he's running for president because he wants to protect himself from whatever legal crimes and, possible indictments that might be coming his way. There's a lot of special investigations going on, Garland, Marlon Garrick is getting involved. The AG over there is getting involved. It's a lot of other politics happening right now. Of course, we can't forget Letitia James, okay, who is AG in New York State, who is definitely on his ass. It's a lot. It's so much other things. He's got a lot of different probes into him right now. And I think he's running because he wants to cover his ass. I think he really wants to avoid going to jail. And recently his daughter, one of his youngest daughters, Tiffany Trump, just got married. Now, Tiffany Trump was at Penn around the same time my husband and Abel and all of them were in school. And I think she came in by the time I was in my senior year. And now she's getting married. And people are like, oh, well, she's a nicer Trump. Listen, none of the Trumps are nice. The fact that she got up there during the, Republican National Convention a couple years ago and spoke in defense of her father, I was like, yeah, you didn't have to do that. And now I hear Ivanka Trump is not getting involved in the political drama. Now, her husband, Jared Kushner, there was rumors this past week that they think her husband is the one who's been ratting off to the feds or to investigators looking into Trump. And that Ivanka is basically trying to cover her ass, and she's staying far, far from the drama this time around because she, it is what it is. I mean, she really is trying to distance herself this time because I think a lot of the family do not want him to run for office. I think they're like, hang it up flat screen. He really do need to hang it up flat screen, but he won't because his ego is in the way. Now, it's been interesting because even the sons, the Trumps, Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., a lot of them are even getting a little weird around him for certain, There's just been a lot of interesting things happening. But I'm going to tell you what I also believe is going on. Trump just basically been blamed for why the Republicans lost big during the midterms. I mean, this red wave was a red mirage, as we all talked about in the last episode. He's not doing anything, strong or thoughtful right now. He's weak. He looks weak. His speech was very, very mellow. He didn't have the energy. And the crazy part is that his American Carnage speech that he did actually a couple of years ago, it was the same speech. Like Trump has been saying, I get that you have shut him off and that makes sense. I wish I could shut him off. But the thing about Trump is that he's been saying the same fucking rhetoric for like the last 2 years. I mean, granted, when he was president, he had a different type of speech and a different mindset. But now he's going into defense because he's bitter that he's lost. So now everything is doom and gloom. And his previous speeches were super inspirational because he was in office. So everything was great. Everything is bigly. Everything was good, right? Now everything is just complete total damnation. And he's really riding that. But it's not working in the fucking polls. And granted, one would argue that the Democrats deserve to win the midterms. Should they have done as well as they did? Granted, I know people don't like them, but god damn it, the Republicans was just going too much. I mean, them pushing Herschel Walker deserved the chokey. Okay, if we was in Matilda and I was Principal Miss Trunchable, I would have sent them to the chokey. Straight up for what they did to putting Herschel Walker in Georgia. And now they're hoping that he pulls it out. But let's be clear, the Democrats have already won the Senate. Like, it's a wrap. And honestly, this 51st seat is the one that we want to see Raphael Warnock, who is the incumbent U.S. Senator from Georgia, in this runoff race, he wins, he'll do well. There is a lot of concern from Republicans that they're not going to really fight hard anymore for that seat or put much money behind Herschel, because honestly, their mindset is like, whether we win that seat or not, they got the majority. And to be honest, is it worth their resources spending it right now when they could be putting it into someone else? And that's someone else, I'm going to have to be real with you, I think is Ron DeSantis. Now, we've been talking about Ron DeSantis for a minute now. I'm still on that Ron DeSantis conversation. Ron DeSantis, who is the governor of Florida. Now, Florida had the best damn day out of the election on November 8th. They had the wins. They beat Val Demings. Crease was lost. I mean, everyone pretty much, now there was, of course, Max Frost, who was the Gen Zer who really broke records and won big for Florida as a Democrat, but that was in an area that was already Democratic and in congressional seat that the Republicans did not expect to win. So he was pretty much a shoe-in. But for everything else, I mean, Florida is super, super red. And, for those who remember the 2020 presidential race, to see Florida go this red today is wild. But that's where we are, right? And Ron DeSantis has held on to it. And people like Andrew Gilliam, who used to be respected, I think a lot of the faltering Democrats, like, for example, someone like Andrew Gilliam, who just dropped the ball and really just did not, who just had his own scandals, that I think hurt Democrats. I think Democrats really were hurt by that decision. So I must say that was an interesting observation. However, I think that because Trump really is being blamed for the midterms, Republicans want someone new. A lot of Republicans, such as Josh Harkley and all these other, Republicans, have really started to shift towards really modifying their rhetoric, even though there's still a devil in a blue dress. And to be quite honest, people are like, Ron DeSantis is not as crazy as Trump. I'm sorry, Ron DeSantis is probably worse than Trump, because he's actually a devil in a slick suit with a red tie that understands how to talk about white supremacy and be homophobic and be a bigot in the most eloquent ways that Trump could not. Trump is an unhinged bigot. Ron DeSantis is a suit and tie, clean, polished, silver tongue bigot. That is the enemy, okay? It's giving George Wallace. And if you know who George Wallace is, look him up. This guy is on some other shit. I think he is going to be a problem. Now, the thing about him, though, is that the Republicans can get behind him because of his demeanor. Because we made this all about respectability politics a long time ago, where we stopped giving a fuck about the content, but the package that the content contained in. That's a problem. Because if we don't take its time to start looking at the what, rather than spending so much time looking at the how it looks versus what it is, we're going to miss something here. And I think we're missing that while Ron DeSantis might be more eloquent, he might, look more, put together, the things that he's proposing and the things that he's doing is horrible. I mean, don't say gay. Hello. His talks about critical race theory, his conversations about slavery. Like, this man is completely done lost his goddamn mind. But people let him sit up there and have a platform and be elected. So he's the one everyone should really be focused on. And I think the Republicans want to turn the next chapter and focus on DeSantis and leave Trump behind. However, by Trump declaring early, he is trying to put a real foot in between the victories. So here is my theory. My theory is that I believe Trump is purposely going to force the Republicans to acknowledge his bid, even though they're not going to. He's trying to intimidate them to. But by them acknowledging him in a contested race with DeSantis, he wants to give DeSantis a run for his money. He wants to weaken DeSantis. And by weakening DeSantis, if he doesn't win the nomination, if Trump does not win the Republican nomination, he is going to make it hard for DeSantis, and the Democrats will win the White House yet again. It's going to happen. Trump is in a position where he is trying to scare the party he brought to prominence, because I see where Trump's logic is. Now, let me be clear. I don't support Trump. Let's just get that out the way, even though that shouldn't have to be said on Ernestly Speaking. But I know that comprehension skills are just very lacking in this day and age, so I have to make it clear what I'm about to say. Trump's mindset is very much like, look, I brought this party back to prominence. I got a lot of you motherfuckers in y'all seats. I put y'all on. I put the red back in, I put the R and the red back in red and Republican. And for y'all to now try to, leave me and get away from me after the fact that I kept y'all in these seats. Because listen, Ron DeSantis, I endorsed you. I put you in this seat. You used to campaign for me, and now you trying to act like you don't know me? Fuck you. That's where Trump is at. Trump feels like he put all these people in position, and for them to now distance themselves from him when he literally was a leader of the party and really redefined the Republican Party, now to see these people leaving him at his most desperate hour, he is feeling some type of way. And what's funny is that I used to be critical about how Democrats can't defend their own, but the Republicans are red. They red, but he should have learned from what they did to Liz Cheney. Republicans, I must say that they do coalesce and unite more than we as Democrats do. Because the reality is that the Republican Party is not divided. They just are saying we don't fuck with Trump right now, and they're moving upward. And the Republican Party will do that. Like, once you prove yourself to be weak and unsteady for them, they're not going to try to hold on to you. Now, Democrats, that's what Democrats do, right? Democrats will, even though they see somebody weak and not good, they will continue to hold it down for them and be loyal to them, even when they know it's going to cost them seats. Which is why we see all these annoying-ass incumbents that are like straddling the fence right here in Pennsylvania. But I digress. Even in a situation where, like, I look at the Pennsylvania Democratic Committee, right? The state committee. They backed Connor Lamb. Lil Lamb Chop had no chance. But because they're so loyal to the ideology of their party or what they want in a moderate, they will hold on despite their face. And when Fetterman, right, John Fetterman, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who was definitely on the polarizing opposite of Connor Lamb, when he won in every county, they still kind of acted a little weird with him until it was time to realize Dr. Oz was coming up and they had to defeat Oz. But that's how Democrats are, and Republicans are very much like, look, they'll move to whoever they can win with. Because let's be clear, they didn't like Trump at first. I mean, Lindsey Graham was talking shit about Trump. Now he was kissing Trump. Now he's kissing Trump's ass. They will go with whoever they see as a winner, because Republicans only care about winning. Republicans don't really care about having a moral conscience. They threw that out the window decades ago. They're now focused on just winning, however they can win. It's the art of the deal, no pun intended. So I'm not surprised to see what's going on with Trump. I'm not surprised to see what's going on with the Republicans doing what they're doing, because they're really focused on trying to make Ron DeSantis, make Ron DeSantis a thing, which I think he will be. He's saying he's exploring, he's keeping it cute. But it's really obvious that he wants to be the next president of the United States. And I think that Trump knows that's coming, and Trump is trying to put out a fight. He's not trying to take this land down, which, I get. So, that is that. Now, while we're on the conversation of Trump, I must acknowledge and must say that Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter, is a total jackass. This guy has now reinstated Trump's Twitter account back up. So far as of the recording of this podcast, Trump has not made an official tweet, but his page is active. And Kanye's page is active. Yes, Kanye West's page is active. So now both Kanye and Trump are back on Twitter. Kanye has tweeted to signal that, he's coming back on. And it's just like, oh my goodness. Literally, Elon has ran out all the smart, sensible engineers. Now everyone has completely left, except for a couple of engineers and technicians. I mean, 1,200 resigned recently. 1,200. There's been a mass exodus of employees that have left. Ooh, when it all falls down, radio, when it all falls down. It's sad because Twitter's my favorite app, but it's falling down because Elon Musk is now at the part where mentally and emotionally he is desperate. He's desperate for relevance. He's desperate for attention. He so badly wants to have the approval of an audience. Like, advertisers are pulling out. There's a lot of people pulling out, and here we go again. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't know what's happening. Like, once again we find ourselves in these situations where I'm gonna be on Twitter till the wheels fall off. I haven't left. I'm gonna be on until I can stay on. I'm gonna be on till the wheels fall off. That's just where I'm at with it, But it's been interesting because I've lost a couple of followers, not because people left me, but because a lot of my followers are woke and they smart, and a lot of them are just like deactivating from Twitter. They're not on there anymore. They won't stand by this, and it's been a little interesting. It feels like a ghost. It doesn't feel like a ghost town on Twitter. Kind of. Well, yeah. It kind of do. Like, it feels like it's like the more prominent folks, but like, I don't know. There just seems to be like a little bit of a staleness to it right now. The fever isn't high, and I'm not ready to say that yet. I really want to just see like if it's like I need to see. I know what it is. I need to see a historical event. Like, I need to see a historical event like the Grammys, the Oscars, or the American Music Awards, I suppose. But I need to see an award show or something like a major American Music Awards. Not enough. A big major program or event to see if traffic and energy is there on Twitter still. But right now it's kind of lukewarm. It's lukewarm. But it's Elon is desperate. I think he's trying to get that conservative audience. He thinks there's money from the conservative group right now. And I think that that's what is driving his energy and his thirst and his taste right now. And it's like a mess because it feels like a clusterfuck, because so much has happened since the last time we all got together and we all, was having this episode. Like, I see the building burning, and we'll just have to, I'm just hoping that this too shall pass. I really am. But it's one of those we'll see. So this is a tough topic, but it's one of those things where it's not even about gun violence for me, but Colorado Springs. Q Club, an LGBTQI nightclub in Colorado Springs. A mass shooting happened there. 18 injured, 5 were killed. It's here we go again, right? Post was in 2016. 6 years later, another one of these events happened, and it happened the day of Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is on November 20th. I've gotten so desensitized from this that it's heartbreaking, but it's always been heartbreaking. And they've identified the suspect. He's a man, 22 years old, I think he is. Young. And once again, here we are again, dealing with this once again, this violence. It's hard because you have to find yourself in a position where you see people put thoughts and prayers on social media. They put Oh my goodness, my heart goes out to these families. And this is the cishet folks, okay? Let's be clear, the straights. And all of a sudden, you're like, well, wait a minute. You were the same person that was defending Dave Chappelle's jokes. You were saying it's just jokes. You're the same person that thinks everybody's being too sensitive about, LGBTQ. Just not everything's homophobic and this, that, and the third. You're that same person that tolerates it in your families and your social circles or act like it's a certain way of life. You're that same person. And so it's gotten to a point where it's hard to know who to trust. Like, I don't, I have my core friends and family, but outside of that, I don't trust these straight people like that. I really don't. I really don't. Because the same people that's out here putting up the rainbow emojis and talking about their ally are the same people that are always, doing some homophobic shit in their everyday life. That's being transphobic to other people, being fake, and it's hard. It's hard because they can't connect. Well, no, they can't connect, right? Because some of these people are women, are people of color. They're individuals who have other marginalized experiences, and they can recognize the power of how words can lead to hate and how that hate can lead to violence that we're seeing right here. They know what that looks like. They know that rhetoric. They've seen it, and they tolerate it in other groups when it's not happening to them. It's a selfishness. It's a selfishness for me. And, when I think about these days, right, when these types of days happen, I think about the folks that do the whole defending Dave Chappelle and defending these homophobic things, right? Where are y'all, if y'all not homophobes, y'all claim that y'all don't discriminate, where are y'all in explaining this and condemning this hate? Because that's the hypocrisy for me, is that we know the homophobia exists with these people, the Dave Chappelles and people like that, when they can only throw shade and shit on LGBTQI people. But then when tragedy hits us and harm hits us, they don't ever condemn the violent bigots and haters that do these things to us. They never speak out against those things. I think when I look at the issues that were happening with anti-Semitism, and there were some, Jewish people like the Ben Shapiro's and the other folks, the Alan Dershowitz, who sat around and gave voice and reason to Donald Trump, who was clearly a white supremacist, right? A big racist, right? They sat up there and they tolerated that. But then these are the same people who then want to look at what black people are saying about anti-Semitism and want to criticize and look at what we're doing and asking us to be whatever. Now, for me, I don't have to be asked because I already would condemn it on sight. I don't have to, you don't have to find me condemning anti-Semitism because I do it without anyone's permission. I don't need to wait for a tragedy to speak out against hate. We have to also stop doing that, where we feel like the only time you should say something is when tragedy strikes. You should be always speaking out against these issues. You should always be acknowledging those issues because they've never went away. Racism never went away. Anti-Semitism never went away. Homophobia and transphobia has never gone and left the building. So it should be a part of your vernacular and your everyday life anyway. At least it is for me. Like, I'm consistently talking about, colorism and these things. Like, me and my friends, we are often talking about the hate in society. Like, it's never like this, okay, I'm living under a rock for several months and years, and then something bad and racist happens, and then all of a sudden I have to come up with ways and go Google a quote from somebody or go find a book that I can get on Amazon. I don't know anybody in my circle who has this cultural awareness. I gotta find some articles on Google from this person, or I don't have to do that shit. Like, I don't have to figure out who's in the ableism community that I can figure out and learn more about. Like, I follow these people online. I'm engaging in this material in my everyday life. I'm consistently consuming and reading about how to be a better person across the fucking board. Like, there's no book on how to be a better person. It's a way of life. You have to do this every day. You have to get better at it and improve on it. It's an exercise. You have to consistently train your mind and disavow the toxic things that come in it. You have to consistently, filter out the messages that are being fed to you in mainstream media and society. You have to consistently do that. You have to consistently unlearn bad habits from your childhood. You have to consistently cleanse your tongue of problematic speech and vernacular terms that are now offensive and harmful. It is a work, and you're a work in progress, but you have to actively and aggressively work at it. You have to aggressively do it. And you have to put yourself in a position to acknowledge that you don't know everything. You have to put yourself in a position to listen to different voices and put yourselves in environments that will make you uncomfortable and put you in a position to check yourself in your privilege. That is doing the work. And there's a lot of people who keep trying to cheat doing the work. It's like a participation stamp for you. It's like that little Pizza Hut, read a book to get a pizza for you. You know, you want to get someone to sign and forge a signature that you read this many pages, and then you ain't read none of the book, but you want to take a picture with you with the book coupon so you can get the pizza. Like, this is the kind of stuff that people do. It's the people have found cheat codes in trying to pretend and perform this level of wokeness. But the funny thing that we're learning in society is that a lot of people are out here on cap. It's cap. They're lying about their actual activism, their commitments, their things. Because the funny part is that they'll take all these little seminars and do all these little things, get these little awards. And then when shit happens, when they open their mouth and they start saying some dumb stuff, you're like, you ain't done the work. You haven't done the reading. You haven't actually have actually been challenged yourself in this thinking. Because in these types of moments, you're doing very remedial, basic level things, but yet you want to be an expert. There's a lot of people running around here talking about they're a DEI expert. They read one book. What you read, what's that book? White Noise, White Privilege, whatever that book is called. You know, white, whatever. You read that. Right Guilt. You know, you know, How to Be an Anti-Racist. You read that book. And so now you felt like you done read the book. And we got to talk about the elitism within white spaces. That they try to master these things under their own hierarchy of wisdom and knowledge. So they play the games of, I read this book, I got a certificate from this university, and they flex these very elitist types of titles and roles to try to then overstep and overshadow Black and brown people who have actually had lived experiences that inform their experiences. It's quite compelling that there are people out here who try to, I guess, outsmart, outwoke, marginalized people in ways that then try to then silence them as something else. It's very telling. It's very telling. It's very telling. And I see a lot of people do that. And you're overambitious to try to scrub away your guilt is never going to come at the expense of you thinking you know more than me in certain areas. And that's okay. You will never know more than a Black woman about what experiences happen to Black women. And that's okay. You will never know more about homophobia and transphobia than people within the LGBTQI community. You will just never understand those things. You will never understand the intersections between race and sexuality and gender unless you're from those communities. And that is okay. But we live in a world where people feel like not knowing something or being an expert means that they're not efficient. They think that somehow they're broken or useless because they can't master everything, because that's the way a capitalistic society makes us. We determine things based on gaining and gaining and gaining and taking and taking and taking. And we come from this type of paradigm of like, if we don't accumulate these things, then therefore this is a telling of what we are. I stopped doing that shit a long time ago because I would never have any time to actually exist. And when will you ever have time to actually learn? And when will you actually have time to apply what you've learned? If you're coming from this mindset where everything's about accumulation, to then flex some fake ass pedestal or platitude of ultimate knowledge. It's not true. It doesn't exist. I'm going to let y'all let that marinate a little bit. Like, take that in. But I see too much of this. And I'll give you an example that really was hard. And I was actually talking to Chris, my friend Chris, about this when we was having dinner. But There was a situation, and I wrestled with this, and some of y'all listen to this podcast, y'all gonna be feeling a little guilty. So there was this story on 6ABC, and it's about this black woman who lives in Philly. She has a nice husband, black couple, black love, nice, cute young couple. Well, this black woman opened up a franchise of a very popular fast food restaurant in around the main line, West, I think it's West Philly. And she, is the first black woman at this company to own a franchisees in the Northwest area, of Pennsylvania area, whatever. Oh, first black, we love the first black thing, right? And she is made quote unquote history, and she's, a businesswoman. She's an entrepreneur. Well, she owns a Chick-fil-A. And, it sucks, man, because like as much as this story is aspirational and it's cool and it's dope, she owns a Chick-fil-A, y'all. And it was a situation, funny enough, a couple of days ago, someone had asked me, hey, are you going to support this woman? She got this business. And I said, well, unfortunately, I'm not a proponent of Chick-fil-A because of their funding of anti-LGBTQIA laws and policies. And they're really putting millions of dollars to really push this, okay? They are really against same-sex marriage. They're really against, supporting LGBTQ youth. They're not for queer people. And they have really doubled down on that. And have embraced that identity. So this person says, well, this is a black woman. We should support a black woman's business. I said, as much as I support her entrepreneurship spirit, I can't support her business. I can't do it. It goes against my very existence. And you know that in the case for cancel culture, I talk about Chick-fil-A and businesses like them in my book. And it's so funny how this is a full circle moment for me. So they go, well, what that got to do with her? You know what I'm saying? She's a franchise owner. What that got to do with her and what she got going on? And I said, well, if you can't make those connections and dots, it's fine. But at the end of the day, she is furthering the expansion of a business that seeks to, degenerate LGBTQI people. And well, they don't care about us. I don't know why you worry about that community or whatever. When this is a black woman, I said, well, there are black LGBTQI people like myself. And, we don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree on this point, but I'm not going to go back and forth with you about why I'm not supporting a business that does not respect my humanity. And so it was a very tense conversation. But I say this to say that this is the type of shit I'm talking about, right? Because someone like that woman who owns that Chick-fil-A, right, in Philly, this black woman, right? She's probably would say she's not homophobic. She would probably say, I don't doubt that she probably personally feels that she's not homophobic. I don't doubt that she is not at all against, she probably has gay friends. And probably some of the people that work at the Chick-fil-A are gay. Like, I would not doubt this. That all of these things can be true. However, we are talking about institutional influence and power. That money that is being made at that Chick-fil-A is fueling an institution that's going to use those funds to impact and negatively impact and cause harm for the livelihoods of people that look like me. And so it is hard. It is hard to be in situations where you see people. It's like, I got to use this because this is the way this person said this to me. And I said, well, then what about Candace Owens? Why don't y'all support Candace Owens? Candace Owens is a young black woman with opinions. Why y'all not supporting her book? Because her book is pushing, white supremacy. Her book is pushing and defending people like Donald Trump. Oh, that's why you can't get down with that? Because that goes against your existence and your livelihood? That's what this Chick-fil-A do. And some people might think I'm reaching or being dramatic, but no, it's really that serious. And in a world where we have events that's happening at Colorado Springs, we cannot ignore that this continuous onslaught of supportive and promoted and tolerated hatred is leading to the detriment of all of us. So yeah, I cannot support that Chick-fil-A. And I wish the best to her, but I can't encourage any of the people on my podcast to go to that Chick-fil-A or to go to any Chick-fil-A. And that's where I stand on it. And by the way, if you want good chicken sandwiches, there's a Raising Cane's in Temple and there's a Raising Cane's in West Philly. Don't tell me that you can't find other places to get chicken. There's a Popeyes, okay? Or you can just make your own chicken. Or you can hit up my good friend, okay, Omar Tate at Honeysuckle Provisions in West Philly. He has a chicken special on Thursdays, okay? Thursday afternoons at 12 till closing until run out. He fries this really good ass chicken. Now, he won't be doing it this Thursday because it's Thanksgiving, but every Thursday after that, he makes his own fried chicken and he sells it for $1 for 2 pieces for $1. And it's the best fried chicken I've had in West Philly in a long time. So there's other places to support chicken and get chicken sandwiches. You do not need to go to Chick-fil-A. Point blank, the end, period. So moving along. This Philadelphia mayor's race, y'all, it is heating up. It is officially after November 8th. So we can now talk about the Philly mayor's race because I know that's what y'all really want to talk about. Well, some of it, right? And a couple other things. But let me just tell y'all about this mayor's race real quick. Like, it is heated. So last week, Jeff Brown and Alan Dom officially announced they were running. Now, this is coming off the heels of the midterms. So now we have 6 candidates in the race. We have Derek Green, who's a former city council member, Maria Canela Sanchez, former council member Sherelle Parker. We also have Rebecca Reinhardt, who's a former city controller. We now have Alan Dom, who was a former city council member. And we also have Jeff Brown, who is the owner of ShopRite Fresh Grocer. He owns the ShopRites in Philadelphia. 6 people. We're waiting on Helen Gim to officially resign from city council to run. We're expecting her to run at any moment now, probably in early December after Thanksgiving. But those are the 7 candidates running. But there has been rumors that there will be an 8th candidate. Now, I have really talked to this source, so I don't think it's going to happen. But you all probably heard it. First of all, y'all heard it from me first, that Amin Brown, who was a state rep in West Philly, I think he was in a former 109th district. Now he's in the 10th district due to redistricting, but he's in West Philly. He is being pushed by developers who have formulated a $5 million PAC to put money behind him to run for mayor. Now, Amin is like 34 years old, I believe 34, 35, mid-30s. He's a 2-term state rep. He just won his 2nd race, which was a contested race. We've talked about him before on the podcast. You know, he's a little notorious for being on that committee to look into Krasner's impeachment, which, by the way, I must say, Larry Krasner, the DA of Philadelphia, has now been impeached by the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. Yes, the state house has impeached Krasner. The Republicans control the House right now. Now, you all know that starting next year in January, the Democrats will take over the Pennsylvania House. But it seems like they're trying to, in lame duck mode, push for his impeachment and get him, potentially taken out of his seat. But over here, Ernestly speaking, we predict that will not happen because it will require 2/3 of the Senate to vote, which will require about 5 Democrats to fold. I don't see 5 Democrats in the Senate backstabbing and folding. But the House, the state House Democrats, they didn't support it, of course, but the Republicans did support it, which was enough because they currently had the majority. So now the Senate will have to decide, but there'll have to be hearings and things, and that's probably going to bleed over until next. But they got enough to get him impeached, so there will be a trial, there'll be a hearing, and then the Senate will have to decide what they will do, which will probably happen later next year. But the House, with the Republican majority, was able to get the impeachment through before January because the majority of the House will be Democrats in January, and they would have not even brought it up for impeachment. So it's a topsy-turvy game right now, but the politics are dirty. Well, Amin was on that special committee that was holding hearings to look into articles of impeachment around him, and it was very unpopular. He also was unpopular, for trying to propose a mandatory minimums bill earlier last year, which didn't make it through the House. But apparently he has no interest in running. I mean, he's playing it cute and coy and modest, but I don't think he'll do it. To be quite honest, if he do, it'll be the dumbest thing he could do politically. I mean, the dude just, made it through a state race. He clearly got people backing him. He's got some money going for him. But this city's too progressive, and I don't think they're going to really entertain someone like him. He's not married. He has two children, two young children. He's a single parent of two. It's a lot going on. And the obstacles, I think, in this race with a lot of established statesmen who's been in politics for a while, that have other type of business acumen that's a little bit more successful, well known. This is a big race. So I don't think he's going to actually do it. But listen, the gossip is there. Other things that they're talking about in the gossip meter. So apparently, Daryl Clark made a phone call to Derek Green, trying to edge Derek Green to get out the race and consider the vacant city controller's seat, and arguably to do so on behalf of Sherelle. It's looking like Daryl Clark is in favor of Sherelle being the next mayor, and apparently Daryl Clark was trying to get Derek Green out because they're both in the Northwest. Derek Green and Sherelle Parker are in the Northwest. Well, Derek Green is pushing back against that by basically saying that he is in this race to run for mayor. He's not in this race to run for any other seat, and he's here to run for mayor, and he is not accepting any other consolation prize. So Derek Green is really serious about running, and let me tell you why I know he is. So Joseph Pierce is this big political consultant. He was on Fetterman's campaign, and now he is Derek Green's campaign manager. Joe Pierce is a very well-respected Black political consultant. He works on some very fierce campaigns. He just got off the heels of Fetterman's campaign as a guy who's working in, I guess, as political director or working in that space. He's no joke. So I'm like, okay, Derek Green is cutting out fat checks for Joe Pierce to be in this race. He must be serious about this election. So I got to tell you, I'm not saying I ever slept on Derek because I do like Derek Green. I've always spoken positively about him on my podcast, but he really looks like he's serious. There's some other people that are doing some interesting things. Jeff Brown has some interesting people on his team. I'm not going to name certain people, but his communications spokesperson, I don't know why he picked that person. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to leave it there. I'm just going to say, Jeff, if you want a winning team, you got to get winners. And you got to get real winners, okay? Don't get people that... I'm just going to say this was just interesting to see. Interesting campaign decisions being made across the board. We're curious to see what's going to happen with Helen Gim. I'm personally curious to see what's going to happen with Helen Gim. She's been a little quiet, but I think that's because she's trying to get all her ducks in a row. She's been making appearances. She's been going to things. She saw me at an event recently. She knew how to speak up and say hi. She a little bit tried to play me a little bit when we saw each other at Relish, acting like she didn't recognize me. But she said hello. And it's interesting. All of them are starting to say hello now. Because they got to, right? They got to do it, right? They recognize they got to do some type of respect, right? We got to do something. We just can't be walking around acting like we don't know nobody, but you're trying to run for the next mayor. Just saying. So moving along into some other things that's been going on across the city. Across the country. Before I get into these Grammy nominations, can I just talk about DaBaby real quick? I know. When it rains, it pours. But it is pouring down for DaBaby. There was this video that went viral of DaBaby apparently was at a Cheesesteak Factory, and he was offering people tickets to his concert for free. There was a little bit of crowd and some cameras and pandemonium. Let me tell you something. DaBaby is struggling out here. These tickets are being sold in bundles, and people still don't want them. DaBaby was going on this big tour over a year ago. He had the Grammy nomination. He was on the horizon. And then he had to open his little homophobic mouth and make a problem. So now DaBaby is completely locked out. He's going through it, as he should. But he won't give up. He will not give up. His album is flopped. I mean, there's no momentum for him. It's a mess. But speaking of a mess, Trey Songz is back in the news. Another accusation, police is involved in New York. Apparently he assaulted a woman at a bowling alley. Woman has now filed a complaint. They're looking after him. He's denying the allegations. Trey Songz, I feel like every single month, every single time I turn around, there's another Trey Songz situation. And the fact that people consistently have turned a blind eye to him and try to act like they don't see it. It's like, at some point, y'all, what's going on? First of all, homeboy is getting ugly about a day. I was like, oh, he didn't used to look like that. He looks tired. I mean, where's the career? The career has completely been sunk. I mean, what happened to Trey Songz? What happened? I mean, just completely fell off. Like nobody wants anything that Trigger Trey has to offer anymore. It's so sad. But like, what we gonna do, people? Like, can they stop this? Can we stop this? Because I just feel like we're gonna have a surviving Trey Songz documentary very soon at the rate that we're going right now. So not feeling it. Not feeling it. So things that I am feeling. The Grammys. The Grammys. Oh my God. So, okay, y'all know my predictions were on point. I must give myself some praise. I did call a couple of things when it came to the Grammy nominations. Um, very, very happy about the nominations. I mean, overall, I feel like she's made history. Beyonce, once again, has made history. Um, she keeps killing it. Um, Beyonce has 9 nominations, the most nominations. She's the most nominated artist out of everyone. She leads the nominations. She has the most. She now is tied with um she is now tied with her husband Jay-Z, who I think overall both of them, I mean, they have a lot of nominations. Um 83. Both of them are now tied with the most Grammy nominations. They now have 83 apiece. Followed by Sir Paul McCartney with 81, Quincy Jones with 80, and that was initially what it was. Quincy Jones. So at first, Beyonce had 79, Quincy Jones had 80, Sir Paul McCartney had 81. Now Beyonce and Jay-Z has now toppled all of them with 83 apiece. Beyonce has 9 nominations, including Album of the Year, which we knew was going to happen for Renaissance. Um, Jay-Z's gotten some for Break My Soul. He's got a credit on Break My Soul, so he shares some of that with her. But these nominations, though, are real steep. I'll get into some of the big ones because I just want us to process this. So let's get to Album of the Year. Voyage by ABBA. Who saw that coming? ABBA? Grammy nominated? I guess. 30 by Adele. We knew this was coming. Un Verano Senti by Bad Bunny, which we did see that coming. First non-English speaking album to ever be nominated for Album of the Year. We're going to get to Big Bad Bunny and my thoughts about that. Renaissance by Beyonce. Good Morning Gorgeous by Mary J. Blige. That was a shocker. Who saw that coming? In These Silent Days by Brandy Carlisle. Not surprised, Brandy Carlisle has been a very big Grammy favorite for a minute. Music of the Spheres. Okay, this is about Coldplay. I don't know why Coldplay keeps getting these random Album of the Year nominations lately. I like Coldplay. I used to grow up on them, but lately Coldplay has like never been that relevant. Why do they keep getting nominated? It's just weird to me. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick Lamar. We saw that coming. Special by Lizzo. Lizzo did it, y'all. Lizzo really got that Album of the Year nomination. And last but not least, Harry's House by Harry Styles. We saw Harry Styles coming with that nomination. I kept telling y'all that I knew the moment that album came out, it was getting nominated for Album of the Year. So it's a nice group. Now, before I get into it, I'm just going to go into the predictions as I get in these main categories. So everyone is like thinking Bad Bunny's going to win. But I'm going to tell you, I don't think Bad Bunny's going to get it because Bad Bunny was nominated at the Latin Grammys recently, and he lost to Rosalia for Motomami, which I thought was a great album and could have also been nominated for Album of the Year in the general, too. But he did not win Album of the Year at the Latin Grammys. And that was kind of weird to me because I was like, he was nominated, and you would think that given how successful this album is, it is the highest selling album of 2022. Now, I don't know if I think Taylor Swift might surpass that maybe, but as of right now, it is the most successful selling album of this year. The fact that he couldn't win in his own special category, that's interesting to me because I thought he was going to just get that as a given. Rosalia got it, and Motor Mommy is a very great album, by the way. An alternative Latin fusion. It's an interesting album. Bad Bunny should have won. It didn't. Some people are arguing that there might be some anti-hip hop notions because it does have this reggaeton, hip hop, urban sound to it, and that some of the Latin Grammy voters in that group is a little bit turned off by supporting something like that in the mainstream categories. But that was interesting to witness. So I'm thinking about that. I don't think ABBA is going to win. That's not happening. Good Morning Gorgeous is a beautiful album. I'm so surprised it got nominated. It is a good album, but I don't see it winning. Coldplay's not winning. Brandy Carlisle's not winning. Kendrick, I don't see it. Lizzo's Special, cute album, but I think that Lizzo and Mary J. Blige are going to cancel each other out. Harry's House. I think Harry's House is going to have some trouble with Adele and the pop. I think ABBA fans are going to eat at that. I think that Coldplay fans are going to eat at that. I don't see Harry getting it either. So then who is it between? 30 Adele and Renaissance Beyonce. It's between those two, y'all. And I must say that the Grammy campaign between the two is fierce. Adele is back on tour in Vegas for her residency, and she's been killing it, y'all. And I feel like she's trying to remind people of how much that album was good, even though it was kind of, I mean, it's not a bad album, but it's not her best. And she's campaigning, y'all. She wants the Grammy. So it's going to be interesting. I think Beyonce is going to drop them visuals right in time. I think this is the time, Beyonce. Stop playing, Beyonce. Drop this visual movie. It's time. Grammy voters are ready. You can use that to campaign, and then it's going to get nominated for a Grammy next year, and then you're going to surpass your husband and be the most Grammy nominated artist, period. So that's the goal. We got plans, okay? That's how we're going to pull this off. But tonight, this year, you're going to get it. You got to do what you got to do. If Beyonce gets 4 wins this year, she'll be the most, if she wins 4 Grammys next Grammy, she'll be the most winningest, she'll be the biggest winner of Grammys than any person ever. She's going to make history. With 9 nominations and 9 different categories, I think Beyonce can pull it off. I think Beyonce can get at least 4. I think she's going to be most awarded, but we need her to get Album of the Year, period. She's never won in the general category except once for Song of the Year for Single Ladies. So I'm going to say I do think Beyonce can pull it off, y'all. And I know there's been a lot of critique that she's not, and the Debbie Downers, but I believe that 4 times a charm, and I think 4 is her lucky number, and I think there's something about this year that feels different. I also think that Adele has won Album of the Year twice, and Beyonce has never won it. And I think we have to acknowledge that there's not been a Black woman who's won Album of the Year since Lauryn Hill. And Lauryn Hill won that over 20 years ago. So if there's ever been a Black woman since then who's been more worthy to win Album of the Year in the last 20 years, it's Beyonce. It's Beyonce. And this is long overdue. So I think she's going to win. I think, you got Harvey Mason Jr., who's the president of the Academy. He's Black. He has really been, trying to diversify and get more artists to win. Under his leadership, Jon Batiste just won, for his album. So it is possible that she could win. I just want to say that it is possible. We Are one Album of the Year last year, and that was the first time in over nearly 15 years a Black artist, period, has won since Herbie Hancock won for the Joni letters. So it is possible for this to happen. I think it was Herbie Hancock and Alison Krauss. I think I remember that album. It was Herbie Hancock who won. The album was called River, the Joni Letters by Herbie Hancock. And it was a American jazz piano type of album. He won. It won Album of the Year at the Grammys, which was really interesting. But it was just very interesting. It won. That was a very competitive year. And I mean, the Grammys award, it's interesting who they give albums to. So what people was just upset was that year when River, the Joni Letters won by Herbie Hancock. I mean, Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace by the Foo Fighters nominated. These Days by Vince Gill, sure. Graduation by Kanye West. Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. I mean, these were the albums competing. Now, I personally that year would have gave the album to Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. I mean, knowing what we would later see what happened to her, it was an incredible album. But let's see. But I'm going to give it to Beyonce. I think Beyonce is going to shock us all, and I think she's going to pull it off. Now, for record of the year, Don't Shut Me Out by ABBA, Easy on Me by Adele, Break My Soul by Beyonce, Good Morning Gorgeous by Mary J. Blige, You and Me on the Rock by Brandy Carlisle, Woman by Doja Cat, Bad Habit by Steve Lacy, The Heart Part 5 by Kendrick Lamar, About Damn Time by Lizzo, and As It Was by Harry Styles. There's a lot of competition, man. This is so many damn nominations. 10? I'm gonna, I don't know, right? The Heart Part 5 getting nominated was a surprise to me by Kendrick because the Heart Part 5 is not on Kendrick's newest album. I'm surprised it got nominated, but I guess they went to put a hip hop category. There's a lot going on with this, right? So Don't Shut Me Out is not going to win. Good Morning Gorgeous. I mean, Bad Habits, cool, a nice little new song, but I don't think it's going to edge out. I think Woman and Mary J. Blige and Doja, they're going to cancel each other out. Kendrick's hip hop, Lizzo's going to cancel herself out. Honestly, I can see this is either going to be Adele Easy on Me because Adele's Adele, or it's going to be Harry Styles As It Was. I can see them saying, okay, we're not giving Harry Styles Album of the Year, but we'll give him Record of the Year. And I can see them going in that direction so everybody gets a chance to win. Now, Song of the Year, it is ABCDEFU by Sarah Davis, which is the artist Gail. Gail sings that song. About Damn Time by Lizzo. All Too Well by Taylor Swift, the 10-minute version. As It Was by Harry Styles. Bad Habit by Steve Lacy, Break My Soul by Beyonce, Easy on Me by Adele, God Did by DJ Khaled, The Heart Part 5, Kendrick Lamar, and Just Like That by Bonnie Raitt. Interesting selection. Now, where I stand on this is that I can definitely see several things at play. I think that if I was a betting person, again, it could go to Adele. It could go to Taylor Swift. I can see Taylor Swift pulling this because there's been a lot of momentum on this song, and I can see her getting that song, Song of the Year Grammy. I can see her really pulling that off. I don't know. It's hard, y'all. But I also can see About Damn Time. Maybe they want to give Lizzo something. I don't think As It Was is going to win. Easy on Me could do that sweep. Adele is queen of sweeps. So if I was a betting person, I'm going to say this is between Adele, and I believe it's between Adele, and I'm going to say it's between Adele and All Too Well by Taylor Swift. I think that's going to be who's going to be between. Okay, best new artist. These are really new artists, some of these people. Anita, Omar Apollo, Domi and JD Beck, Money Long, Samara Joy, Lotto, Maneskin, Toby Nguyen, which is a Penn alum, not Penn alum, a LSIC alum. He's from Houston, and we went to the same high school. We don't know each other personally, but we went to the same high school. Both went to LSIC. I just want to say that he's not a really good guy. I just want y'all to know that. Toby's not a really good guy. If you see how he talks to his partner, his wife or whatever, I think that's his wife or whomever, his partner, I think it's cringy. I think he's toxic. I'm not here for him. I think they're weird. Just sidebar. Molly Tuttle and Wet Leg. Interesting group. I don't know. I think Lotto might pull it off, y'all. Lotto might win, y'all. Big Energy was a big damn deal. Anita maybe. But I was surprised that Tim's was not nominated. I just knew Tim's was going to be nominated. The fact that Tim's is not nominated is just devastating to me. Dove Cameron. Where's Dove Cameron? Where's Gail? What's going on here? This lineup was really weird. But I do think Lotto could win. Money Long would be cool too. But I'm really going to push for Lotto. But you never know. Best New Artist is weird this year. Pop. Best Pop Solo Performance. Easy on Me by Adele. Moscow Mule by Bad Bunny. Woman by Doja Cat. Bad Habit by Steve Lacy. About Damn Time by Lizzo. And As It Was by Harry Styles. Y'all, I'm going to flip a coin on it. I don't know. These are all strong contenders. I really don't know. Six nominees, I really don't know. This is really good competition. I mean, I would say Easy on Me by Adele because she's always a winner, but you just never know about that Harry Styles. And maybe Lizzo might slide up in here and get something. Who knows? Um, Other ones, other big nominations. Oh, Best Pop Vocal Album: Voyage by ABBA, 30 by Adele, Music of the Spirits by Coldplay, Special by Lizzo, Harry's House by Harry Styles. Um, mm, well, four of these nominees are nominated for Album of the Year. I'm gonna say Adele 30. I think overall Adele's gonna get 30. I think she's gonna win Best Pop Vocal Album for sure. She's a lock in for that. Um, Outside of that, the categories are pretty much in general categories. I mean, shout out to Beyonce for being nominated for Best R&B Performance for Virgo's Groove, but then Best R&B Song for Cuff It. Talk about the diversity of like the categories. Yeah. So who got snubbed? Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj got snubbed, and we knew this was gonna come. We knew Nicki Minaj was gonna get snubbed. Some of y'all was out here like, "Oh, Nicki, they won't do Nicki like that." No, Nicki got her ass snubbed as she should. There were no nominations. I mean, and I was a little surprised because I thought, "Do we have a problem with Lil Baby?" Could have got a nomination, but I just think Nicki just annoyed a lot of people, and it just wasn't happening for her there. I mean, Super Freaky Girl was a reach. Everybody thought maybe could slide into pop. I mean, with all these strong, I mean, she didn't have a strong album to back that single. So it's really hard to get a nomination off a single. Like Bad Habits was a super number one hit. I mean, really, I mean, yes, Nicki's song was a number one hit too, but Sam Lacey's song was a big breakout hit on the charts in a way that I think Super Freak Girl wasn't. So it got that slot. But the rest of those artists have gotten album year nominations, record year nominations. She just wasn't a good fit. Meg Thee Stallion, Traumazine got zero nominations, and people thought that, she's a Grammy favorite. They've been for a while predicting her. And I will say this about Meg. I like Meg as a person, and I will never complain about her as a person. I like what she represents, but I do think that her music, it is just, I think that her being trapped with her label has impeded upon the quality. And when she won those 3 Grammys, which she's one of the most awarded Grammy artists next to Lauryn Hill. I think Lauryn Hill is first. Then there is Missy Elliott. Then it is, Meg Thee Stallion. But 2 of those Grammys were with a collaboration with Beyonce for Savage. And I will never take Savage away from her, but she had a really great hit, a great song. But I feel like Meg, has not been able to recreate that magic. And I think that Beyonce being on the song was what got the Grammy voters excited about the single and gave her what she wanted. I think she's a great artist, she won Best New Artist, and that was a good look for her. But I think she's in that weird slump, like, okay, ever since then, Thought Shit got nominated last year, but she put out a completely full-length project, and the album Good News itself didn't even garner any major nominations last year in any categories. It just seems like she's not, this whole album just kind of just went boom. And even Traumazine as a project, while she had moments, high moments and passionate moments, I just think it kind of came and went, and I think she had to get off the label, but I just feel like she hasn't given us a proper project. I don't think she's given us like a really real meaty project. I think she would like to, but I just feel like she has to be in a better label space. Those are the main people to me that were snubbed. Elton John, people talked about Elton John's album not getting nominated. Okay, all right. Um, I mean, I don't know, like, if there was like any, like, I think that the Grammys did a good job across the board. I don't really see any major people that I felt like were just completely straight up snubbed. Even though people did feel some type of way about some. So like, Encanto, people just really thought Encanto should have been. Rosalia, people really wanted Rosalia for album of the year, which clearly there's people that really want that album to succeed. Encanto got snubbed. We don't talk about Bruno did not get any love. Nicki Minaj did not, which we also saw humming. Which isn't too much of a surprise. But no love there, right? I guess people felt some type of way about the rap categories, but I'm not complaining about that. I'm also not complaining about the fact that You know, Afro beats didn't get any love, which people were talking about. That was a little annoying. But Morgan Wallen, okay, did not get nominated in country, which I'm happy. Now, Morgan Wallen was the country singer who got caught saying the N word and was doing some really racist shit and was pretty much canceled for the most part. But he's been trying to make a bounce back. His album has been selling ridiculously. And he has been quite the artist lately, but he got no Grammy nominations despite winning an American Music Award for country best country male artist. So people are still not fucking with him, which I think is pretty good. Now, into movies of this week. There is a great movie I just saw called The Inspection, which stars Jeremy Pope. Now, if you know Jeremy Pope, he was the love interest of Blanca in Pose. He was also in Hollywood, the show, the Netflix series Hollywood, and he's a Tony nominated actor, one of the first black artists to get nominated for Best Supporting in two categories simultaneously. He's a triple threat. He can sing, he can dance, and he can act. And he's the lead in this really great drama, which might be getting some Oscar buzz for himself. And also, surprisingly enough, Gabrielle Union, who's in a really great supporting role as his mother. It is a very passionate film. It's set in the military around Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He's playing a gay actor, and I'm really happy about this. So Jeremy Pope is a black actor. He's openly, I think he's gay or bi, but he's queer for sure. And he's young. He's in his, I want to say, early 30s. Very talented. You definitely have seen his face. He's 30. Yeah, he's 30. He's 30 on the dot. But he is really great in this film, The Inspection. And Gabrielle Union is too. Her acting is back. She's got a really good film. And pretty much what's interesting about this is that I want to say I can personally relate, but I know people have had this experience. So he plays a young black gay man who's rejected by his mother, and with few options for his future, he joins the Marines, doing whatever it takes to succeed in this system that will cast him aside. So, yeah, it's one of those types of films, but it's really good. Really, really good. I got to see a sneak preview of it. So if you are looking for an interesting movie starring black lead actors playing gay characters that are nuanced and not the typical stereotypical roles, please watch this. It's very good. So as far as TV goes, Abbott is Abbotting. It's so good. I love Abbott Elementary, y'all. It's my addiction. It never disappoints. The Bobby, I Love You Purr. Woo! This reunion, oh my God. I have been watching it. Let me just say this, by the way, with Zeus. Jason Lee, can we just figure out what we're going to do with Jason Lee, y'all, as a community, as a culture? I don't know why Jason Lee gets so much media space in our social conscious. I don't get it. I just need us to figure out what we're going to do with Jason Lee. Period. So in wrapping up, I say the best for last. Public service announcement. So lately, and I'm not even just talking for myself, but on behalf of entrepreneurs, consultants, thinkers, academics, and experts, can we normalize telling people to pick up our invoice when they want to pick our brains? I am getting really tired of the pick my brain culture. Or the pick your brain culture, as they say. I didn't realize this until recently. There was a woman who, emailed me, and I didn't know her that well, but we met, and, it was a nice cordial greeting or whatever. And she messaged me and sent me a image of something, like a logo, and just said, hey, I got this graphic. I wonder what you thought about it. I just want to get your feedback on it, whatever. And I looked at the logo design, and I said, oh, it's nice. It looks good, personally, I would do X, Y, and Z with this color, whatever. I was very, very, give a little bit of feedback. It was quick. Why not? So then, even though I didn't have to do that labor, even though it's not what I had to do, I did it as a cutesy. Oh no. The next day, she dumps this slideshow on me about this presentation she has, and she tries to frame it like that she's so grateful in advance because she wanted me to check her presentation and give her feedback if this was the messaging. And the way that people manipulate you, it was around DEI. And the way that, and let me be clear, she was white. Before you ask, yes, she was white. Is that the way that people get away with shit like this is that she is a assistant manager. I'm not gonna be a Karen. I'm not gonna name her name. I'm not gonna tell you where she works. But she is a deputy in some type of DEI work. She said she had to do a presentation on a particular topic that was in my respective, expertise in industry and identity. And she was like, oh, super flattering, saying, oh, I know you know so much about this. Gave me this, so much about this, really, really flattering, gassing me up. And then goes, I just would like to, see if you can just look over this. So this is the part where she treats what she's asked me to do as something minute and little, like a little, oh, if you have some time, I know you're probably busy, but yeah, could you, that's the little part, right? The little framing of, could you look at this a little bit like it's something so minute. So then she goes into that. And then she, of course, hits me with, I know how much this really is important to you. And I would really be helpful to get your input on this very important matter. So she weaponizes my passion against me to put me in a position that her as a white person, if I don't help her, then she's going to do badly, which inadvertently impacts me and hurts me. So therefore, I'm expected to do unpaid labor to help. So I couldn't express these words. Like what I'm saying to you all right now is the first time I've been able to flesh these words out to see how it's being manipulated. Because I didn't have the words to figure out my discomfort and displeasure. Because part of me was like, oh my goodness, we do ask for white people to ask us for things or to not fuck up things. And so the fact that she asked me is her being considerate. But then I took a step back and said, wait a minute. She is an expert. She's been given this position. She's getting paid to do this work. I'm not. She's probably getting 6 figures. She probably has a budget for this. Why is she asking me this on the fly? She's going to use my input. Is she going to credit me? Is she going to acknowledge that she got this work in this way? And even without that, where's my fucking check? Where's my money? Why is she inconveniencing me? Why is her problem my problem? Why does she think this is okay? So once I began to wrestle on that, I said, this looks like a consultation. While I respect looking at the logo, that was quick and easy. And although I just thought that was a simple request, which I did out of the generosity of my heart, I, however, cannot do an analysis of your project, a diagnostic on your project, because that would be, pretty much me doing professional consulting. And that's use of free labor. And since you're doing a topic on equity in particular, I do want to emphasize that not paying someone for their labor to do certain work, especially a Black queer person, is something that's inequitable. Crickets. But sometimes that's what you have to say to put your foot down and let people understand what's going on. I really saw a really great play at Azuka Theater this past weekend called A Hit Dog Will Holler. And if you have not seen A Hit Dog Will Holler, I highly recommend it. It's at Azuka Theater, which is at the Drake, which is over there around 17th and Spruce, near that CVS. The building's called the Drake, but they have the theater in the back. It's down there, and it's a show called A Hit Dog Will Holler. It is a Black racial justice centered play. Azuka Theater is really radical in the fact that they do pay as you want tickets. So that means that look, to make it accessible, if you can pay only $5. You only got $5 you can pay on a ticket. You can get whatever seat you want in the theater that's not reserved, and you can sit there and you can watch a show, and you can pay how much you can afford to pay or how much you want to pay. Let's say that the ticket was $50 on average, but let's say that you like, yo, this show was so good, I'm gonna give $100. That's how I felt about this show. Like my ticket was comp because I was media, but it was so good that I gave them money for that ticket. I highly recommend this show. It was very Black, very great, all Black cast, very important messaging and story. And there's a moment in the show where it talks about this type of level of inequity and paying for labor. And it just made me realize how often I have been co-opted in ways to give up my labor in ways that was not beneficial to me, and also subtly, right? Like, you never think reviewing something, even as simple as a logo or color, can do a big difference. That while even though it took up 5 seconds of my time, for that person that wanted to pick my brain, quote unquote, that was what their project was about. That was their salaried gig for that week. And here I am keeping this person afloat at their job where they're not doing any of their own ideas. And I think about how many countless Black women who have had ideas that were hijacked from them by others, and how often they never saw the benefits of it. So I'm just preserving my intellectual property. I'm going to help my friends because that's what friends are for. So that's not for my friends. But for these other people out here that want to play these games, it's difficult. It's really difficult. It's really difficult, for sure. Just say no. Just say no. For real, for real. For real, for real. Just say no. And last but not least, before I get into my hot topic, because this is important. This is very important. This is a really serious topic, and I wanted to save it at the end of this podcast because I did feel like if I didn't say anything, I was going to not be able to do something. And I really think this is important. We have a problem, America. America has a problem. The problem is charcuterie boards. You all do not know what a charcuterie board is. So let's take out the word board for 5 seconds. Charcuterie is the act of having cured meats. Do you know what cured meats means? It means preserved, seasoned, aged meats. Now, when you put such charcuterie on a board, you add, cheeses, you add some herbs, you add certain flavorings and crackers and breads and mini baguettes and other types of fruits, dried fruits to complement the charcuterie of the meat. And that's a charcuterie board. Lately, there has been a wave of people calling everything a charcuterie board. There was a guy at an event recently that told me he had chopped cucumbers and tomatoes and feta on top and said that this was a Greek charcuterie board. I said, no, sir, that is called a Greek salad, and you have it on a board. It is a Greek salad that you have. He was offended. I've seen people do all kinds of weird things. These are not charcuterie boards, ladies and gentlemen. These are cheese platters. These are snack plate trays. These are not charcuteries. Okay? Charcuteries have dried meat. You can't remix charcuteries. The word charcuterie is that. It's so weird that now people are starting to call the traditional, sports tray charcuteries. Those are not charcuteries. Those are cheese trays, cheese platters, vegetable trays. They already have words. Crudites. Like, what happened to us using words as they are? But somehow along the way, some idiot decided to do a butter board because they were so broke or so nasty or so cheap or tasteless that they decided to do butter boards. And I was like, what the fuck is a butter board? It looks and sounds disgusting. Well, people are doing all kinds of things right now to stay afloat in this economy. But on behalf of people who have real taste everywhere, stop calling non-meat boards charcuteries. If it does not have aged, cured, dried meat on the plate, it is not a charcuterie board. That's it. That's all. As you begin to have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, I hope you make sure you marinate and brine your turkey. I hope that you season all your food. I hope that you embrace dressing, but if you like stuffing, it is what it is. I hope that you have just a really thoughtful time with the people that you love. I know that Black Friday sales are already coming about, but with all due respect, please, when you have snack trays, call them snack trays. If you don't have a charcuterie tray, don't call it a charcuterie tray. Please, well, thank you. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.